Allyship means we never stop learning. How much do you actually know about sex work? After training thousands of learners over the past 10 years, Living in Community has developed an online self directed training program to learn more about sex work, including what it is, how stigma plays a role, and how best to support sex workers in your work, life, and community. For more info on the 4 modules, including topics like human trafficking, best practices for service providers, the impacts of Canadian law, and more, go to livingincommunity.ca. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Stripped by Sia, your podcast for strippers, sex workers, and all the fancy naked people in between. I'm your host, Steph Sia, aka Kimchi on stage. You can catch me on stage, I think, this week, September 25th. I will be at Lux nightclub dancing there, which will be a lot of fun. I have not worked there yet, but if you happen to be out in the whack, please bring your dollars and monies to tip me or come chat with me. That's where you can that's where you can find me in person. Most of the time, I'm actually found online under the name Sia on Camera, so you can find me on various websites like OnlyFans, Sex Panther, and some other various platforms that I'm going to be adding onto my roster, and also StreamMate. So that, of course, that's a big one. But anyways, yes, exclusively on StreamMate. If you are just tuning in for the first time, this show is all about destigmatizing sex work. So I do that by bringing different guests onto the show every single week. So this week we have on-screen talent. Other weeks we might have people from nonprofit organizations that help benefit sex workers. We might have producers, people behind the scenes, clients. Sometimes that's like a one-time thing. And also just talking about educating people on the topic of sex work and humanizing sex work and the work that it is that we do, just because a lot of that information gets misconstrued in society, online, in public, and people just like to make assumptions a lot of the time. So I am here to really just set the record straight, and we just discussed various topics because our industry is so vast and there's so many things that are pivoting and different emerging technologies. It's a lot to encompass. So that's kind of why I do the show, just to help destigmatize the work. And this week is no different. We're going to be talking about personal growth, or just personal and professional growth in general in the sex industry, how you yourself can grow. You can learn a lot of things from yourself from working in this industry, but also, looking from a business lens as well and treating the work professionally too. So we're going to be talking about that with our lovely guest who I'll be announcing shortly. But before we get started, I just want to say hello and do a little shout out to our Patreon subscribers. Hello and welcome, and hi to the people that have been subscribing for the past few years. Thank you so much. I just want to say a big shout out, or guys, I cannot talk today. I have not talked to humans at all today, so apologies for me stumbling on my words. But I just want to say hello to Raina. We've got Dale Flood from Vancouver, BC. We've got Red Door Products. Hello, Dan from Seattle. We've got McKenna King from Edmonton, Canada. Bea York from Seattle, Washington. Eric Arajo, Geyser. And we've also got Snoo all the way from Germany. Sorry, Raina, you're from Sweden. Hello. All my early listeners that usually like to listen first thing Sunday, which is great. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're curious what the Patreon's all about, it's all about video exclusive access to all of the episodes ahead of time, the full video, by the way, too. So we have all the video that's available there. Bonus content, which I'll be doing another bonus episode pretty soon because I'll be guest lecturing again at Simon Fraser next week. And then you get to kind of see who I'm bringing onto the show, what topics I'm trying to tackle, and guests I'm trying to source for these specific topics. So lots of goodies on there, and we have tiers starting for as low as $4 a month, so you can check it out if you want to financially subscribe. And of course, to be transparent, all your money is going towards the website, because websites need funding and hosting money. Like there's a cost for everything, so that's exactly where your dollars are going. And for the occasional adult industry event that I am that I attend, which is usually Expats Miami, but we shall see. Obviously, that's not till May, so we'll see where else I'll be attending. But you guys will be the first ones to know there. So go check it out. It's patreon.com/stripped by Sia. And let's just get right into things right away because our guest is patiently waiting. We have the lovely, beautiful Mandy Muse joining me on the show today, which is super exciting. If you're
Mhm.
unfamiliar with Mandy and her work, Mandy is an adult content creator and, of course, I can't say fellow porn star because I'm not a porn star, but she is a big porn star in her own right for the past 10 years, which is a long time in the adult industry. Also a fellow pole dancer as well. She's known for a lot of her ass-tastic content, anal content, all the things. I'm so excited that she's going to be joining us today. So please welcome Mandy Muse on the show today.
Hey everyone! Thank you for tuning in and thank you for having me, Sia.
Yay. We're like so stoked to have you on. I am excited to talk about your career, where like how everything has like led up to where you are today, talking about the trials and tribulations that you've had in your career and personal life and just growing both as just like a regular human being, but also professionally in the industry as well. Because I mean, congratulations on a decade. That's a huge amount of time to be in the industry. So we
Thank
can
you very
definitely talk.
much.
Yeah, it's a long time. Some people just last a couple years, if not less than that. So longevity in the industry is something we'll probably definitely be tackling and talking about today. But Mandy, before we get started, I forgot to mention off air that I always like to throw it back to the guests in terms of like giving them their own introduction because I just know all the things I like Googled you about and just found out a bit about you online. But I think it's important for all of our guests to describe themselves in their own words and terms. So feel free to go ahead.
All right, well, I'm Mandy, and I've been working in the adult industry for 10 years. I guess 11 if you want to count me dancing. So
That counts.
I just really love what I do. I'm very authentic with my work. Um, I feel like that's kind of what has helped me with my fan base for sure. And yeah, it's just crazy from like being 19 to now is there's a lot that's happened then, and I'm so happy to be here, and I got a lot of new stuff coming out. So
Hells yeah. And we're going to talk about all the things too. I mean, I think it only makes sense, Mandy, if we start at like the very beginning and talk about your humble roots getting started in the adult industry. And maybe you could start off with that story. I know a little bit about that, but of course, for those who are unfamiliar with you, I would love for you to tell the full story.
okay, so I was very sexual my whole life. Not my whole life. I'm sorry.
Adult life,
Since
teenage life onwards.
right, yeah, since I was a teenager, and so I had a lot of like just really interesting stories that would happen sexually compared to like most people, I would say. So I started getting into just like the community, I guess, full force. And so I still have this friend. Is a Marine, and where I grew up, the county below me, where I lived, has a Marine base, and so he was like, "Hey, like, let me take you back to the barracks,"
Oh
and
my
so like
God.
he came with his friend, and so they picked me up, and then I like had to hide while they went through the gate, and then so we started having a threesome, um,
Fun.
and I wanted to try DP that day, but I never even done
just
anal really
casual.
at that point. And
Go big
so,
or go home.
yeah, yeah, right? Yeah. I think back and I'm like, that's crazy. Like, how would I do DP for anal?
You got big goals.
Yes. So yeah, we were having a lot of fun, and this other Marine that was on duty, like at the barracks, I guess. I don't really know exactly where he was on duty, but he was. He came in, and I was like, "Yeah, you should join." And he's like, I would love to, but I can't. And I was like, okay, well, get my number. And then so my friend later on actually gave my number to him. And he asked me if I would like to do a porn scene. And so I asked him like more details of it. And
Yeah.
he said it's for a uniform fetish website. And so he showed me the site,
Oh my
and it's
god.
all. I hope like I don't like expose it, but they're all wearing like uniforms from like Navy,
Yeah.
military, and
Air.
stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Oh my
And I was like,
gosh.
wow. And then so my scene was me wearing my high school cheerleading uniform.
Classic.
Yes, yes.
Oh my gosh. Damn. So that was like your start. Was he in the industry at all, or was that just like an amateur thing and people contribute to that specific fetish website? Or like
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was an amateur thing, and from what I know, he just worked for them a few times. So
fun. It's fun. So okay, that's wild. Like first of all, like
yes,
this is how it all started. It's not like the typical, oh, I was scouted on the street or I was like someone slid into my DMs on Twitter or something. But
yeah,
yeah, it's super different.
for sure.
Yeah. So I guess from there, I know that you were also like, how did that spread from there in terms of like what happened after that? I feel like I know a little bit too, but I just want you to tell the story.
Yes, yeah. So originally, like when I was 18, I was go-go dancing. I was a big raver, and I've always been a performer my whole life. So uh, I just fell in love with go-go dancing, and so I was part of this like go-go company and stuff, and the head girl made me the co-captain of
Okay.
the group, and so we became really close and everything, and she uh, told me about modeling and stuff because it kind of came hand in hand with the go-go
Go-going.
dancing.
Totally.
And so she took me to like these, I don't even know what they're called. It was like a house, and these girls and all these photographers would like take turns of like taking pictures and uh,
Mm.
like giving them their rate or whatever.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
so eventually she was like, hey, like, don't tell anyone this, but I do nude modeling, and you make more money. And so I was like, oh, okay, like, I already did a porn. So I did the photo shoot, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I love the way I look naked. And so yeah, that's kind of how it transit. Oh, and then so my agent at the time for the go-go company, um, he had me do like a solo. I wanted to do a solo scene, and then that led to boy girl, and then that led to boy girl, so on forth.
Right. It just went trickled down the line.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, all of a
Wow.
sudden I was
Yeah.
doing gangbangs.
Let's go from 0 to 100 real quick.
Yeah, that's kind of like my thing, I guess.
Damn. So, okay, this is all when you were quite young, like when you were 18, 19, when this all started. That was a long time ago. And also, different mindset back then, too. Like when you were first starting in porn, like, did you ever think about, like, I'm nervous for this to get out? I know some people are a little bit hesitant in the beginning. But obviously you have to you have to be face out to be in porn, obviously. But did you have like any apprehensions going into it, or was it just kind of like spur of the moment? We're just gonna see how this plays out, and we'll go from there.
Um, yeah, I definitely had to think about that because of like examples of other girls I knew that went into the industry, and
Okay.
so I kind of was able to hear like the opinions of like like mutual friends and stuff, and um, so yeah, I did think about it, but I didn't really think about me being in it long term, So
Yeah.
it definitely spread, and I did uh, jeopardize some relationships, unfortunately. But yes, it's definitely something to think about, especially when you go in the industry.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's something I think important to say here, because there are a lot of people that do listen to the show as a resource in terms of like, I'm just preparing myself and trying to gather as much knowledge and information as I can before I jump 2 feet in, which is fine. This is a conversation we haven't really had a lot on the show, but I don't think it really just even is limited to just porn, but being in this industry in general. I think it's really important that you have a good thought to really consider your options and consider um, things long term too, because it's so easy to just kind of look at what is in front of us, but not consider what the consequences are. I'm not sure if you wanted to share, if you feel comfortable sharing, some of those consequences that you personally might have gone through, Mandy.
Um, yeah, I mean, definitely with my family for sure. Yeah, so I was selfish in that sense to not think about my family like that. So I do like that's one thing that I have to deal with now.
Yeah, that's really tough. It's really, really hard because, even like with my parents, I'm not forthright about the work that I do in this industry. I'm just very like light, like I'm a consultant and I do this stuff.
Accountant, okay.
It's just remote work online, right? So, but I mean, like there are circumstances where some certain families are a lot more open and a lot more forgiving and supportive. But I would say for the majority of us, it's actually a really tricky line to dance around, just because you don't want to sever your relationship with your family. um, they don't want to know about it, and especially if you do get more famous and bigger in the industry. I mean, eventually family and friends, close friends, will find out about it. So I think it's definitely something to consider when you are getting into this line of work. I'm not sure if you have anything to add to that, Mandy.
Yeah, it's crazy because how it spreads is not like you would the way you would think, because it's like how would like my parents find out about that, like who told my parents, and then like who also knows that my parents know. That could be
Yeah,
weird. And then
totally.
siblings at school, and it becomes a rumor and everything. But yeah, so just definitely be prepared for that, because I'm pretty sure every one of us has that issue. I'm sure there are a few red ones though, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. There are some good parents and stuff out there too. I mean, I think it's just important to have a transparent approach about everything and all the different circumstances that we can be in. But yeah, I'm really glad that we're able to touch on that too. So yeah, thinking like long term. But I mean, you were thinking about this is just going to be a temporary thing. We're just gonna get the bag and maybe get out in a year or two or something. I'm not sure what your mindset was, but is that kind of similar along of like what you were thinking when you were first entering the industry?
I think back and I'm like, how did like this all happen? And I always kind of just hustled during that age, especially. And so I just looked at everything as a gig. Like,
Yeah.
and I didn't ever think like, oh, I'm going to be doing all these gigs for this long. I was just going with what life wanted me, or what I ended up doing in life, And yeah, so I feel like recently I started taking it more serious as a business, versus like a gig.
Yeah, and that's like the shift in mindset too, and maybe that's also you can disagree, but also to do with age, I think too. When I think about myself when I was like 19, 20, oh my god, like what a train wreck.
Yeah. Yes.
Making some sketchy decisions back then for sure. Like I did some stupid things. I feel like a lot of us during that early 20 kind of age, we were very questionable. um, but I mean, I'm now almost like mid 30s. I believe you were 29, almost 30.
Yeah,
Something like
almost
that.
30, huh?
Yeah.
In like a
We have,
few months.
dude, we have the same birthday. I forgot to even mention that.
No way. Ah, it's the best
October 18th.
birthday.
It seriously is right before Halloween and right after, well, right after Canadian Thanksgiving, and
Oh,
yeah,
when
it's
is
in the
Canadian
fall.
Thanksgiving?
Canadian Thanksgiving is usually like October 8 to 11, depending on whatever the Monday is.
Oh,
So
okay.
before our
That's
birthdays. So yeah.
yeah, because I always think like, oh, it's my now our birthday, and then Thanksgiving and the rest of the holidays, so it kicks it off, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I have the same way of thinking too. I'm just like, yes.
Yeah.
But sorry, side tangent as I always do. Going back to like I guess the conversation about like, maybe it has a conversation to do with like maturity and age, and how you're looking at things differently through like a different lens. Like back when you were first starting on the industry, you're quite young and you're just like, I'm looking to make money, or I'm just looking at this is a gig and it's coming up, it's going to be in my pocket. And then as opposed to now, you're kind of looking at it more in a business mindset. Do you want to kind of share a little bit about those two differing perspectives? They are very
Yes.
different.
When I started, obviously, I just thought it was gigs, and so I didn't realize how serious it was, especially with like, you have to literally have your own business. You have to do, taxes and all these things. So, I didn't know at that age. No one told me. Like I didn't have that guidance at all. And so, yeah, it was very hard to, well, not hard, but once I started figuring that out, um it's much easier, and it feels like a real career. And I don't know, I think it's pretty badass that it is a career, and it is literally a business. So it just it's much different when you think of it like that. Um, you know, it's like a real set and everything. So it's like a real movie.
It is. It's just, acting naked, but like without clothes, which is even better.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean like I guess yeah, looking and kind of pivoting with that mindset now that you're like almost 30. How are you treating things differently now, like in terms of like speaking about that business mindset? How are you doing that versus like how are you doing it before? Because I guess, and I'm just assuming like maybe when you're first starting it's just kind of like ad hoc-y, like sure, I'm just gonna take whatever gig comes around kind of thing. And I would just love to hear more about like your business process.
Well, so now that I think of it like a business and everything, I'm able to get more work in a way because I'm taken more seriously, versus when I was just, doing the gigs. And so, there's a lot of important things that, being serious about this industry, um, versus not. Um, so I don't know it, and especially now it's very, social media, and so you have to be professional to do it. Um, so I mean, it's better quality content.
That's so true. That's something struck me there that you said, like what was it? Something along the lines of like treating it as business and looking at things a little bit differently. I think it's really important that you do that because it really, it does get you more work, it does get you more fans, because it's not just like, oh, I just feel like posting today and it's been like, okay, like once a month kind of thing. Like you have to be super engaged with your fans. You got to be doing things on the fly all the time and kind of scheduling things out and just being prepared in that kind of mindset. Like I feel like a lot of people don't know, and especially like fans and stuff, like they don't know or they don't care about like any kind of administrative like back end duties that we have to do for our fan sites and stuff, and just how much legwork there is to maintain and upkeep these relationships? Because it's like you are making a relationship with like each and every one of your fans, and you have thousands of fans. And it's a lot. It's a
Literally.
lot. Yeah.
So it's, yeah, I mean, the fans are everything. So it is important to definitely give them, what they request on OnlyFans, or give the people a good scene.
Definitely. I feel like, do you ever feel that? I know I'm not just talking about you, but like in just a general question, but like, have you ever taken like your fans for granted at some point?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, we all
Because
have.
I like with the OnlyFans, it was really hard to, not really hard, but it was difficult to transition from doing shoots most of my career to OnlyFans. And so I wasn't consistent on my OnlyFans. And so I really felt like I was taking them for granted there.
Yeah, yeah, that's hard. And honestly, yeah, don't be so hard on yourself. Like going from doing shoots mostly, and you're getting paid that way, and going and pivoting to something that's like all online, where you have to do all the work yourself, and they're constantly there messaging you. And it's just like, how do you find balance in trying to juggle everything? Because it's not just OnlyFans, but you have other sites too. But like, how do you manage it all?
Um, I feel like I had to like dedicate my whole day, um, because it is a job. And so I don't know, I feel like the more I'm engaged and the more authentic I am, the easier I'm able to handle everything throughout the day. I I don't really have a schedule, but I just feel
We're
like
working on
it flows
it.
all day.
Yeah. And honestly, it is an all day thing. Like the first thing I do when I wake up is like check all the sites and, trying to like beginning of the week and like trying to schedule things out. But I'll be honest, I'm not always on top of everything.
Yeah,
It's hard to be. It's really tricky to do, especially like when you start amassing more and more followers and your following gets so much larger. Like it really does become quite a balancing act on top of your busy shooting schedule and stuff too, right? So
yeah,
it's a lot.
and the traveling too is a big factor.
Totally.
They
Yeah,
don't
speak to
always
us
have
about
Wi-Fi
that.
on the
No,
plane.
they don't. Oh my
I know.
gosh, it's terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of like, controlling, or not, maybe controlling is the wrong word, but like dealing with growing popularity and dealing with fans, how do you go about maintaining those relationships and keeping yourself engaged and keeping yourself like motivated? Because sometimes people and creators might think it's quite monotonous and really tiresome to always constantly go through the routine every day. But
Mhm.
I would love to hear about like what keeps you yourself going.
Um, the one thing I do appreciate about doing it, being in the industry, is how flattering it is to have the fans like always like be so nice to you and like compliment you, and like they are happy with like the work I do. And so I really take that to heart, and I feel like that's a big that's what keeps me uh, motivated the most.
Yeah, it's nice to have, like, especially like when you're having like a shitty day and you're not feeling hot and everyone's just like simping for you, and I'm just like, this is a nice little ego boost that I needed for
Yeah,
this
I know.
day.
I feel like I try and say that in the most like genuine way, but it is
Totally.
nice like to hear something like that when you're having a bad day.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of really, really great fans that are super supportive and like will follow you wherever you go and support you. And I love that. Those fans are great. But of course, I'm sure you probably have dealt with a good handful of stalkers at some point in your career, because that's just unfortunately such a common thing for us female creators. I would love to hear. No, I mean, obviously not anything traumatizing, but like It is and can be a scary thing dealing with stalkers. I've had a stalker and it has not been great. Knock on wood, I don't want anymore.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're safe from all that for sure, because
Yes. Yes, thank
that
God.
definitely can get dangerous. But yeah, I would say I've had some stuff like that happen. Um, just when it starts getting my family involved and my friends,
Oh
because
gosh.
they're reaching out to them.
Yeah,
Uh,
that is really
that's
creepy.
where I kind of like, I don't know, it's like frustrating in that sense because I can't tell everyone to be like, hey, like block this guy right away. Like they would
Yeah.
be like, oh, okay, that's weird already. But then, yeah, I just feel like that's kind of a long term like thing that versus like um, like them just kind of like seeing me in person, I guess,
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a difference with that for sure. Like I feel like I don't know. Stalkers are just like it's just icky and the whole boundary pushing and crossing of boundaries, especially when they start to get other folks close to you involved, like that is such a problem. Like how do you deal with situations like that? How when do you know when is the best time to like escalate something like that?
Yeah.
If you can share.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I feel like I just have to with it, and when people will bring it up to me and they'll tell me like, "Hey, like this fan reached out," and they tell me who it is, I'll even guess who it is. Uh, they kind of just, you know, kind of like use them to like talk to me, and
Mm.
so I don't know, when they bring it up, I just obviously go like, block him, and because they start talking to him because they
Ugh.
think like we know each other.
Oh
It's happened
no.
many times. So
Oh my
yeah, I just feel
gosh.
like I have to separate my boundaries in that way because I do like, appreciate my fans and what they say and everything, and so like I will tell them that I appreciate it, but I realize that is a boundary that I cross when I do that versus like engaging with them on OnlyFans, If it's like just on Twitter or something and I'm like, "Hey, I really appreciate you like being so supportive and writing all those nice things about me." And then yeah, so I've learned that's a big boundary for sure.
Yeah. And boundaries are so important to talk about. Obviously, we talk about boundaries in lots of episodes, but like especially in this case, the boundary between porn star and fans, like and I know there's lots of fans listening to this episode too. Yes, just
I was thinking that.
respect. Yeah, like we love you guys, but then there's also just like, there's a certain line that you just don't want to cross because at the end of the day, like we are still humans. We are projecting a certain persona online and stuff too, and we just love our privacy.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Because I
Yeah,
feel like
I
we're
feel
always like putting our privacy like on blast, and then so when we finally have that little time alone, we're like, okay.
yeah, we need a break
Yeah.
sometimes too, right?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, like going along with that and talking about breaks, I know that you also in your career had a little bit of hiatus. You took a couple years off, I think. Did you want to talk to us about that and what that time off meant to you?
Yeah, so I think I was in the industry for like 6 years when it happened. If I do the math correctly. 14, yeah, I think I was in it for 5 years.
Hmm.
And so, having like going through all those hormonal changes at that time too was like a big factor of everything. And so
Hmm.
I got extremely burnt out of just sex in general, and my
Yeah.
mental health just, it would break down. And so I feel like I needed time to work on my mental health and maybe like move on from the industry. And so I went to school. I went to trade school for medical assisting, And
Wow.
so I did like the whole like normal thing and everything, and
Yeah.
so I did amazing in school. So I
Love
did
that.
that, and then I ended up working for a urologist, which is extremely I uh, uh, sorry, I can't think of the word.
It's
Ironic.
okay. There, yeah.
Ironic,
Because you're working with
and
bodies too, with that, and like
yeah,
private parts.
I know. And so like I was dealing with penises and vaginas in a different profession.
Very different way.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And this was during the time of COVID. So that's kind of when OnlyFans started like happening, and um, I was still working 9 to 5 at the doctor's office, and I felt like that wasn't for me anymore, and I felt like I was making my mental health feel trapped in another way. Um, and so that's why I came back to the industry because I think my break was good. I went a
Yeah.
few years, and so I just feel more free now, coming back into the industry and realizing how to handle my mental health. So it's been a journey, but I'm at a very good place right now. And so I'm really
Yeah.
happy to be back in the industry. And it was a break I needed for sure.
Oh yeah, totally. And like I mean just hearing you speak about like you taking a break and acknowledging that you were burnt out and just tired and taking that step for yourself to repair your mental health tells me so much about like how you've grown even within just that time, the 5 year span for that time. Then you were talking about 5 years forward now, like that just shows how much you've grown as a person, and asserting your own boundaries, which is so important and so needed in this industry. Oftentimes we hear so many people getting burnt out, and then just either disappearing or just burning themselves down to the ground even more, which is so unhealthy. So it's important that you're able to recognize that when your body needs that break, and to even take that one step further, Mandy, like going into the civilian career too. Oh my gosh. I mean, thank you for sharing that. I feel like, people, we don't hear a lot of these stories too when you're like, oh, I'm going to take a step back and we're going to just test this out, see how it goes, go to school, better yourself professionally in that kind of sense. And then you realize, like, okay, it's not for me. We did that and that was a cool chapter, and we're back.
Yeah, for sure. I felt like I've heard that uh, that was kind of like a transition, what you're like supposed to do,
Mm.
And so I did use
Mm.
that my savings to pay for my school, and so I did
Smart.
it. And yeah, I just feel like I'm proud to say I killed it in school, and I did
Hells
the
yeah.
whole normal thing, and I'm really proud of myself in that sense.
Yeah, totally. And I love that too, because like, I mean, the option is always going to be there in terms of like if you want to return back to the industry, or pursue other things. And I think it's important for people to explore that too, especially if you, and this is just my own personal opinion, people, like you can do whatever you want with your life, but like I think it's really important, especially like in your 20s, to actually get some life experience first and to experience things that are outside of the industry, because like our industry is such, it moves at such a fast pace, and there can be a lot of money potential being thrown at us literally and figuratively.
Yes,
um,
yes, that's hilarious.
yeah, so I think it's important to kind of have that balance but also have that exposure in your life, if that is like an option for those who are listening and stuff too. But yeah, I mean, how long was that break for? That was for a couple years or like a few years?
It was 1 year I went to school. It was 9 months. And then 2 years of me working at the office.
Wow. And that's an adjustment too, in terms of like generally speaking, going from money potential being made in the adult industry and going to a civilian job, like that can be quite a lot too. And I think that also deserves a conversation about like managing your expectations and being prepared for what that wage gap can be. If you want to talk about that generally, Mandy, so people can also get a bit of context, but also from a firsthand account from yourself, if you want to share, that would be great.
Um, yeah, so everyone would always say save your money, save your money, and of course at 19 to like 25, I was spending my money on the most funnest things, and like you said, getting that life experience.
Yes.
And now that I'm getting older, I'm almost 30. Um, Obviously, I'm gonna be like aging, and I'm not going to be young anymore like when I started doing porn. And so
Mhm.
eventually I'm sure like I'm going to have to stop doing the industry.
Mm.
Hopefully not. I don't know. We'll see
We'll
where
see.
life takes us.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
yeah, now I'm realizing like I can't do this job forever. Like I need retirement money. And I wish I was doing that this whole time because I would have been great to like, if something happens, if I get in a car crash and something like traumatic happens, then I'll be set because I was, planning for it. Um, and so I really feel like that is important with realizing the amount of money you're making and your long run.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's really, really great to note as well. Because I mean, when you're coming out of like high school and like you're just in your 19, 20, like it's so young, but like life is so fun during that time too, right?
I had a great
So
time.
like, yeah, I mean, like no regrets. It was a lot of fun. No
Some regrets,
complaints.
but you know,
Yeah, generally speaking, it was okay.
yeah, we made it.
I mean, like, I feel like when you're 19, 20, you look at money very differently, or at least I'm speaking from a different, like my own personal experience. Like, for me, it's just, well, money's gonna come and go. Like, it's meant to be spent. And
Yes,
I want to have
for
some
sure.
fun, and I have like the rest of my life to plan for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
But
like we'll
yeah,
just get paid next week and we're fine. Yeah,
yeah.
that's how it was for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, coming into the adult industry, it's a significantly lot more money than say people that are working retail, people that might be working in restaurants and people that have like typical jobs like that. Um, but I mean, if you were to go back in time when you first started in the industry, how would you do things differently if you want to do things differently?
Like financially, because I would say like that's the only thing I would do differently.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
no, I guess
Hmm.
like business wise too, for sure. Yeah. I don't know. I wish that I had the mindset to reach out to, have the resources to help me out uh, with a business. Um, yeah, I just feel like I would have done things much differently with that support. Um, but that's about the only thing that I would do differently. Um, just having like the resources and guidance to help me through it and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think you're alone in that at all, Mandy. Like, I also feel the same way in terms of like just generally speaking with personal finance. Like, I feel like there should be like a guidebook or something, or like they should like teach this in schools or something because it's such an important thing that affects like honestly the rest of your life that I feel gets overshadowed by like other topics like things I'll never learn again, like math 12 and like I don't know, like stuff that like civilizations. Like I don't know when I'm going to be applying that kind of education. You
Yeah,
know,
I
it's
think
like
we
not
should
as
learn about
practical.
like taxes before like the Aztec warriors or something.
Yes, no, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, it's crazy how they don't teach taxes in school. It blows my mind actually.
Yeah, nuts. And especially like I just feel like there should be some kind of like crash course or something. Like if you're joining the industry, you should also take this course, and this should be like bundled up with like your information package if there was ever an information package, which it doesn't exist, but
Here's the
in an
workbook.
ideal world. Yes. I just feel
Yeah,
like there should be some kind of like course or something. Like, are you ready for the adult industry? And then you take a quiz, and then there's like, here's different modules you should do and think about before you like jump into the industry. I don't know.
that would be
Somebody's
such a
business
blessing.
idea. Yeah. I like, personally hate people selling courses, but I actually feel like that is so needed for so many people getting into this line of work, especially when they're coming out of high school. Like, you know, a lot of people will do it because it's a job that is accessible and has flexibility, and the money is like a lot better than other jobs that are out there. So I feel like there should be some kind of course,
Yeah, and especially
maybe.
now with the OnlyFans era,
Yeah.
it's much more normalized, I guess. So I feel like probably more people. I mean, everyone knows about OnlyFans, so I'm
Yeah.
sure like crossed everyone's mind at least once. Like, what if I did OnlyFans? And so
Mhm.
I feel like if those resources, they would be really useful. I feel like more people would like want to use it now. I think that's a great idea, and I think you should do
Yeah.
that.
Then like next episode will be like, and please buy my course for a low cost of $199.
Oh, that's hilarious. I love it.
That is hilarious. I'll get back to you on that, Mandy.
Okay, I will. I'm happy to take the class or the course.
But I mean, you know, there's no shame in talking about this stuff, because I feel like, you know, a lot of people listening out there, also coming from my own personal experience, and these are just things that normal people like us in our industry struggle with, or just not even in our industry, but in the creator world and the freelancer world, the independent contractor world. Like, I just feel like none of this stuff is super obvious, and everything is so gray and confusing with really boring jargon that we have to read through, that I really do feel like this should be, you know, taught. But anyways,
Mhm.
moving on to other things too, Mandy. I mean, having been in the industry for 10 years, you yourself as a human being and your life outside of Mandy Muse has also, you know, probably grown and changed as well. Like, can you talk to us about like what kind of personal growth that you have kind of gone through over this past decade?
Yes, I would love to. So, when I first started the industry, I was still a teen. I was 19, hormonal and everything, still trying to figure out like everything. And so I went through my whole 20s on film. And I don't know, I just feel like most people are kind of reckless going through those ages. And so definitely my mindset has grown with age and everything, and with more knowledge about, mental health in general. And so I feel like now that I'm almost 30, I just am really happy that I've progressed from, you know, and recognized that I was, crazy and a mess. and, you know, and I am really happy that now I can uh, be comfortable and not like, feeling like I used to when I was younger. And so, yeah, just nice to be able to grow like that.
Yeah. I'm hearing a couple things in that conversation there. So, obviously, like, I just feel like you mentioned mental health again. I feel like that has been a big theme probably in your professional and personal life over the past 10 years. And so I'd love to hear more. Like, you know, do you have any practices that you do, or any kind of indicators where you feel like, okay, like this is maybe time for me to take a break, or maybe I don't want to do things, or any kind of like red flaggy things? I just want to hear, like, is there anything that you do in your normal day to day that really makes space for practicing a positive and healthy mental mindset?
I do definitely take care of myself, and I feel like that starts with, listening to your body. And I feel like I'm very um, aware of what makes me burnt out. And, so I don't know. Sometimes I'll even be like, all right, I'll keep working till I'm burnt out. But I've been good in doing it and stopping right before I burn out. So I just feel like if I need to take a week off, if I'm just not feeling it today, to do OnlyFans, it's okay to take a day off. And, just worrying about myself is really important. And I can move my schedule, being blessed with able to make my own schedule. And so definitely taking advantage of, mental health day is a big part of what I do every day to help myself uh, stay motivated.
Yeah, absolutely. And healthy. It's like a reset button. You're like, okay, we're just gonna press pause. We're gonna start all over again the next day. I'd love to hear if there's like anything that you do. Like, do you take a spa day? Do you go for like walks? Do you just like get out of the city and try to be away from people? Like, I'd love to hear what you like to do in terms of like your downtime.
Yes. Well, I definitely hang out with my French bulldog a lot, and
Yes.
I love treating him. So whether if we go to the beach or like the park, that's and playing with the ball is a big one for me. Um, you know, if I am just feeling like a little bit low, then I'll definitely throw on some Dateline and take it easy that day.
Yes.
And just relax like physically and mentally. And then also, I like to surf, and I feel like the water is kind of like a cold plunge type of vibe, so it's definitely good mentally. And I love being in the water because it definitely blocks out like society in general. So
Yes.
I definitely. Oh, and then also, I love doing pole fitness. And
Yes.
so just dancing and feeling sexy and doing something so badass is a big one for me.
Yeah, and it's fun and it's hard too. So it is definitely badass for sure.
So hard, like it's
It is
crazy.
so hard. I get you. I get you. Like I remember like after COVID trying to get back into it because I was like how many years was I into it at that point? I was like 3 or 4 years into pole fitness, but like competing regularly multiple times a year, internationally and stuff too. And then like getting back into it after taking like a couple of years off, I was like, oh my god, this is
Oh, I would imagine, yeah,
painful.
yeah, yeah.
It's so
I'm
hard.
still learning for sure, but yeah, I'm sure like muscle memory plays a big part of
Yeah,
it.
but then your skin's like all sensitive again, so it's like everything's
Yes.
like baby skin.
You know what someone told me? The reason why that is because your body is thinking that you're getting hurt because you never like experienced like pain right here type of thing, and so it's confused that you're actually doing it for fun, and then that's why it stops eventually because it's like, oh, okay, we're not like
Trying to
hurting
kill
ourselves, we're
ourselves
doing it
here.
for fun.
Yeah. It's like,
Isn't
why
that
are you
crazy?
being such a masochist right now?
He's always like, whoa. Like,
That's really interesting. I did not know that. That's so cool, but it makes a lot of sense though. It's a defense
oh, for sure.
mechanism.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Sorry, I'm going backwards here a little bit, Mandy. But you're talking about like, maybe in the past you would kind of push through and just try to go until you can burn out and stuff, which I also share that same sentiment in terms of like we're just gonna keep going until we cannot do this anymore and then we hate
Yeah.
it. um, but like what are your sure like telltale signs now, now that you've been in the industry for so long and now that you know yourself personally very well, like what are some of those signs you're like that you can tell that your body's just like you need to stop?
Yeah, definitely physically, I start off with that. Um, and just making sure when I go to set, I feel good, and then when I leave set, like I still feel good. So if I'm starting to get like burnt out, I'm definitely physically wearing myself out. And so that's a big factor to know that once I burn myself out physically, then it's going to start affecting my mental health. So yeah, I feel like of course, like I'm gonna be sore. It's definitely like a sport, I would say.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I just kind of like worry about being too sore and then keep pushing my body and get more sore, tearing muscles, I
Yeah. Oh
guess.
my god, let's not do that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you've accomplished so much and you've grown so much, both again personally and professionally over the past decade. What's in store for Mandy Muse in the future? Are you working on anything right now?
Yes, I am. So I am back to shooting. I've shot 16 new scenes in the last month and a half.
Wow,
Um,
busy.
yes, I'm very happy to be back. So it's been a while since I took my break. I haven't gone full force back into shooting, and so this is like my official comeback, I would say, and I'm very happy to be back. So that's something to look forward to. And then also, I am working on a project uh, with three other people, and we are doing a show about. Uh, I'm sorry. Do you mind if I restart that?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, clap. Okay, edit this part out. Okay.
Thank you, thank you. Um, so I am working on a show that is about fans potentially being able to go on a date with, you know, some of the girls that do like OnlyFans
Yeah.
and porn itself, and
Oh
so
my god.
uh, yeah,
Wow.
so I can't talk too much about it because
Yeah,
I we're
lips are
still
sealed.
we're still in the beginning process, but yes, it's gonna be very exciting.
That's so fun. Oh my gosh. And I'm sure everyone, like fans listening, are like, oh my God, I have a chance.
Yes, yes. That is one of the most common questions as we were talking about
Right.
earlier.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
So
it'll be
that's
fun.
really
Like it's gonna
cool.
be like little challenges and
Oh my gosh. I want to know more details, but obviously you can't say anything right now, but do you know when this is supposed to be out?
it should definitely be out by next year.
Okay, cool. So people will have to stay tuned. Am I allowed to say the name of the show or let's just keep under wraps for now?
Um, let's just keep. No, no, no. We can talk about it. It's called Fantasy Fling, and currently we're doing casting, so fans can um, apply, and so we're gonna be doing that process soon.
Oh, that's so exciting. Well, huge congratulations on the project, Manny. That sounds so fun. I'm totally going to be tuning in. That sounds like a lot of fun and also like, making some fans' dreams come true for sure.
Yeah, I think it'll be really funny and cute.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'm so excited for that to launch. Cannot wait. But speaking of fans, there are a couple questions that did come in as well from the audience. So I feel like we can dive into those questions now. Um, so this person writes in, when she works, blah, 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 does she prefer, like, when she works with a guy whose penis is big or average size? So the question is big or average size?
Well, working with a big, dick is definitely useful for getting the angles and everything because my ass is really big. It's hard to get an angle with, like an average size dick. Um, so definitely working with a bigger dick is preferred. But we do love those everyday dicks in our personal life.
Yeah, everyday dick. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with
Mhm,
that. It depends how you use it, right?
exactly.
And the last question is, what are her plans for the future, industry wise? Is she looking to get back into mainstream studios or stick to smaller productions slash creators?
Definitely doing OnlyFans. I'm like I'm appreciating being able to do your own thing for OnlyFans content wise, but definitely getting back into mainstream.
So a little bit of both. Yay.
Yes. yes. Good 50-50.
Yes. Well, you know us Libras, we love everything in terms of balance. So a little bit of everything for y'all.
Yes, yes.
Well, Mandy, before I let you go, where can we all find you?
You can find me on all platforms, Mandy Muse Media.
Perfect. So nice and easy. All of those links are in the show notes below. So if you're listening, go ahead and click. Go give Mandy a follow. Tell her how much you love the show and her episode. She would obviously really, really, really appreciate it. And of course, if you want to do some more homework and help me out, you could also rate 5 stars on Google and Spotify if you like the show. Feel free to engage in some of the questions that I have out there. And yeah, write me a review. 5 stars are great. That just really helps more people find the show and, get the show out there and increase in discoverability. So you can do that. If you want to get in touch with me, it's Stripped by Sia on X. We've got Stripped by Sia podcast on Instagram, and then patreon.com/stripped by Sia if you want to support the show financially. And if you want to be on the show, you can also try to be on the show. You can go contact me at strippedbysia.com. There's a contact button there. There's a form that'll pop up. Just fill in the form with as much detail as you can. I love to read through all the pitches, and we can definitely work on developing an episode for later in the season or for future. But yeah, that's your homework for today. And it's new episodes every single Sunday, dropping at midnight Pacific Standard Time. And yeah, I guess that's it for today. Mandy, it was so much fun chatting with you today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I had a great time with you. Libra sisters.
Yes. Thank you. You're listening to Stripped by Sia, hosted, produced, and edited by Steph Sia. Music by Ted D. Graphic design by Maria Bellanderama, and photography by Ian Dabrin.